It's come to my attention that fan service means something very different in the world of anime, so to put aside any confusion, we are not talking about saucy side content here, but we're talking about the DLC packs that gave fans of games exactly what they wanted. These are the additional content packs that made it clear the developers of these games not only listened to what fans wanted, they cared enough to make it happen. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 best fan service DLC packs in video games. Number 10, Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. Oh yes, if we're rounding up a list of beloved DLC packs that gave gamers exactly what they wanted, then there's no better place to start than with this one. Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep is the 4th campaign DLC for Borderlands 2 and was such a hit with fans that as of November 2021, it was released as a standalone game. The story centers on fan favorite Tina running a game of bunkers and badasses, essentially Dungeons and Dragons, but it has a deeper meaning as Tina gradually comes to terms with Roland's death throughout the quest. The DLC was an absolute treat for fans who wanted more time in the bombastic game world riddled with laugh-out-loud moments and ripe with things to point a gun at. Not only that, but it added a new setting, an engaging twist that kept everything fresh, and managed to tell a heart-touching story. This DLC proved that Gearbox knew exactly what players loved about Borderlands 2 and what characters they wanted to see more of, and on a bit of a sad note, it gave players the closure they needed for certain characters' deaths. Number 9, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, The Champion's Ballad. Link on a motorcycle. Need I say more? I should probably say more. Here's the more. The Champion's Ballad DLC has far more to offer than just a cool way to get around Hyrule. Despite offering an already massive open world, there weren't a lot of people who got stuck into Breath of the Wild and didn't want more of it. Luckily, that's where this DLC comes in, and this particular offering included a new main quest encompassing 4 parts associated with each of the champions, a bunch of side quests, new bosses, and items. Much like the DLC for Borderlands 2, the Champion's Ballad proves that it knows what gamers wanted out of this game and how to give them more of it. It offers up some excellent puzzle shrines and a compelling continuation of the narrative that draws on the best narrative and mechanical elements of the base game. While its difficulty is something that deserves to be mentioned, it serves as something of a victory lap for fans who could handle it, with ample rewards. Also, the motorcycle thing. Epona is absolutely Link's number 1 horse, but 1 horse equals 1 horsepower and a motorcycle equals many horsepowers. I think. That's just math. Math I made up, but math. Number 8, Super Ultra Dead Rising 3 Arcade Remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha. Yes, that's the name, and no, I will not be saying it in full again. Dead Rising 3 is a bombastic zombie-riddled trip, so it makes sense that it'd be brave enough to up the ante even further, and that fans would absolutely be on board. The series has never shied away from peppering in Easter eggs or getting a little crazy, so when it was revealed that the 2013 action game was getting a DLC pack whose very name is already a play on titles in the Street Fighter series, we should have known what to expect. The content pack features 4-player co-op where you play as Nick Ramos, Annie Green, Chuck Green, and Frank West. There's also a pile of exclusive costumes that reference other Capcom franchises, including Edward Falcon, Chun-Li, and Capcom mascot Captain Commando. The DLC has you pitted against a bunch of familiar foes like Street Fighter's Akuma, and sort of familiar foes like zombified M. Bison. Not to be forgotten, Tofu from Resident Evil's Hidden Survivor mode is in there too. Number 7, Dragon Age Inquisition, Trespasser. This is a little bit of a divisive one, not because Trespasser is bad by any means, but because some players thought it served as the true ending to Inquisition, and the base game feels incomplete without the paid DLC. That said, it did give fans the ending they wanted after the somewhat lackluster original finale, complete with walkover final boss. Trespasser was the last DLC pack released for Inquisition, and its relevance to the plot and importance to characters you've watched evolve and are going to continue watching evolve cannot be understated. Trespasser is a pleasingly dense extension of everything players love about the Dragon Age series. You'll get the band back together, face a brand new threat in the Canary, and learn more about the elven egg boy we all love to hate. There's also some fantastic development and closure for a ton of the relationships you've watched develop throughout the base game. That's without even mentioning the significant improvements the DLC makes to the core combat system. Honestly, this add-on is a slam dunk. It's just a shame we had to pay for it. You'll also finally get the chance to round out your Grand Inquisition romance, and isn't that the most important thing? Especially if you romanced Cullen, or anybody else, but mostly color. Number 6. Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Rockstar's 2010 action-adventure Red Dead Redemption had an ending that emotionally destroyed the vast majority of us, and while we enjoyed our stay in the Old West, it was incredibly hard to say goodbye to the game world and the characters we'd grown to love. It's fortunate then that Rockstar dropped Undead Nightmare, which, much like the Tiny Tina DLC, was so popular it became its own standalone game. Yet another DLC pack that we didn't have to feel bad about dropping our dollars on, Undead Nightmare drops all pretense of the serious and dense Old West story in the base game and trades it all out for zombies. Starring zombie John Marston, the new single-player campaign calls on John to seek out the cause and hopefully the cure for the zombie virus that's infected his family. Fan service elements include supernatural mounts, and they even put Sasquatches in there. There are a huge number of things to do, missions to take on, and NPCs to meet. That's all well and good, but I think we can all agree the best part is just getting to see more John Marston. In particular, getting to watch him rise from his grave at the end. Though to be fair, we have a whole new game that we can hang out with John in now. Now, if someone can just get them to make an Undead Nightmare 2 for Red Dead Redemption 2, I'll be happy. Number 5. Injustice 2 Fighter Pack 3. It's turtle time. Fighting games are the perfect genre for fan service, and they very rarely shy away from that, so this is the first but not the last time one will crop up on this list. While we're spoiled for choice when it comes to fighting games featuring fan service inclusions like costumes, Easter eggs, and additional characters, we can't look past Injustice letting you play as the world's favorite battling reptiles. NetherRealm's Injustice 2 released a ton of fan-favorite characters after its release, and Fighter Pack 3 might be the best. The first pack included Red Hood, Starfire, and Sub-Zero, but the third added the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to the roster. It also added the Atom and Enchantress. Creative director Ed Boon is known for posting polls on social media asking who players want to see next, and a good handful of the characters mentioned above were fan requests long before they made an appearance. We love to see it. Number 4. BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea. This one definitely falls into the Dragon Age Inquisition TRESPASSER vein of content that maybe should have already existed in the main game, but it's fantastic all the same and delivers a significant dose of fan service. The 2-part story-driven expansion brought players back to our beloved Rapture, which would be a pretty exciting thing on its own, though it also let us step into the fashionable shoes of Elizabeth this time around, in addition to Booker DeWitt. Burial at Sea brought the BioShock trilogy full circle in such a satisfying way that I don't want to make it sound like I'm downplaying it by calling it fan service, but it really did go above and beyond to reward longtime fans. Players had been thirsting to head back to Rapture for ages, and doing it with a heavy dose of film noir alongside the heroes from Infinite that we'd grown to love, complete with very cool makeovers, was a great way of doing it. For the first time, we got to see Rapture populated, which would have taken away from the unsettling nature of the classic video game location were it not for the absolutely enthralling 8-hour-long story. Should this have been included in Infinite? Maybe. Was BioShock 2 pretty much completely ignored? Yeah, but it's still up there with the best DLCs you'll play. Number 3. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Blood and Wine. Like so many open world games on this list, The Witcher 3 had a world nobody could get enough of, but instead of doing more of the same, fans got a real treat in the Blood and Wine expansion. This DLC pack took Geralt to the colourful land of Toussaint, set him up against new fantastical foes and in front of new fascinating people to meet. It's shameless fan service, but there's nothing bad about it. Of course, if you'd only played the games, you might not have noticed the fan service, as it was mainly for fans of the books. You see, the expansion introduced players to Regis, one of the ultimate fan favorite characters in the books, who is a powerful higher vampire. In the books, he died by being turned to molten glass, which, yikes, but book fans loved seeing his return instead of Project Red's version of events. On top of that, fans got to see the beautiful location of Toussaint brought to life in the game, which from all reports, more than delivered on fan expectations. So much so that we weren't too worried about forking out the $20 for it. Also vampires. Very cool. Absolutely nailed it. Number 2. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass Volume 2. Super Smash Bros. Has a very long legacy of keeping its fans happy by delivering them new playable characters from all over the video game realm. Ultimate's roster includes 82 characters, and DLC packs have added the likes of Fire Emblem's Byleth and Persona 5's Joker. That said, potentially the most exciting and fan servicey additions probably came in Fighters Pass Volume 2. This DLC pack includes Min Min, Steve and Alex from Minecraft, Sephiroth himself, Pyra and Mithra, Kazuya, and perhaps most excitingly, Sora from Kingdom Hearts. This one is particularly special for fans because all the way back in 2015, the late great Nintendo head Satoru Iwata, alongside game director Masahiro Sakurai, greenlit a community poll where fans could vote on characters they'd like to see included in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. They ultimately didn't reveal the results of the poll because they didn't want the character's IP owners to get harassed, but 6 years later, we very recently found out the winner was none other than Sora. Sora is the 6th and final downloadable character in the Volume 2 pass, and an absolute testament to the fact that when it comes to Nintendo and Smash, there's nothing wrong with a bit of fan service. Number 1. Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC. Potentially the first DLC that comes to mind when you combine the idea of add-on content with fan service is Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC, which was so good it actually managed to undo a certain amount of fan ire generated from the ending. Mass Effect fans know that the games have never been about particularly smooth combat. They're about these sprawling game worlds and the characters you meet within them and build relationships with. Whether these are companions you carry through multiple titles, your Shepard's love interest, or returning NPCs you meet along the way, these connections are the heart and soul of the epic sci-fi trilogy, and the Citadel DLC just lets you spend a lot more time with them. There's sordid romance options, tally singing karaoke, grunt shenanigans, drinking, dancing, hilarity, pull-up competitions, a charming group photo, and more joy than you can shake an Omni tool at. It's a wonderful break from the intensity of the Reaper threat in the base game, and it's an absolute blast. Good luck getting that smile off your face. If you want to feel really good, I absolutely will not judge you if you want to switch the game off once you're done with the Citadel DLC. That's fine, we can call it canon. That's the end of our list, and hopefully it has somewhat established that fan service is not always a bad thing. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.